Our first speaker is André Vashist. He will be speaking on the many languages of local economies. André Pawan Vashist is a senior fellow in community economics, wealth, and well-being with Think Upstream in Canada. Through this role, he is weaving people, organizations, and regions to embrace a more inclusive and regenerative economies across Southwestern Ontario. As a leader in impact investing, local community economic development, multi-stakeholder collaboration, and social innovation, André is working towards a future that is just and equitable for people and the planet. This has included supporting the development of initiatives like VERGE Capital, Women of Ontario Social Enterprise Network, Carolinian Canada Conservation Impact Bond, and Inclusive Economies Network. Beyond that, André is a family member and eco-spiritualist who blends these love affairs towards a journey of wholeness. André, thank you so much for being with us. We're happy to hear what you have to say and have at it.
Hey, thank you so much, Alex. And hello, everyone. I am calling you from, video calling you from Canada, also known as Turtle Island. And again, my name is André Pawan Vashist. I know this is being live recorded. There's also people here with us today. And so for those of you that are in the chat room with today, I know you're here. And I know your videos may not be on, but I'd love to hear from you how you're doing today. So maybe you can put in the chat box just like a hello, how you're doing, and where you're calling from. I'd just love to know where everyone is from today. There's any organizations that you're connected with. So if you can put those in the chat box, that can help us, get some energy in this room. I know being on these video calls is draining at times, but I know it's also can be a really good opportunity to reconnect with people. That's what this whole thing's about, connecting with people. And I definitely come out here to build relationships. So today we're talking about the many languages of local economies. And the reason why I think I love that topic is because, hello there. Hi, Arlene. Hi, Kathleen. Is because so many people have different perspectives on this work. And we're trying to collaborate on a shared future. That collaboration, we are all talking about sometimes different perspectives, different ways of talking about the same thing. It gets complicated in our human to human connection and communication. And so I really wanted to open a dialogue around many languages around local economies, not to say there's only one way of doing this type of work. And I actually wanted to actually connect with the community today. So I wasn't sure how this was going to go down, how everyone was going to interact in the space. Hey, Audrey, hey, Gary, hey, Holly. I really wanted to make this an interactive conversation as opposed to a lecture. I'm not a lecturer. It's not my style. I'm a conversationalist. I'm a facilitator. And as Alex kind of shared in the bio, collaborating in multi-stakeholder relationships is all about the relationship piece. There is a great indigenous academic person in this land who founded something called Turtle Island Institute. And she wrote a paper called Relational Systems Thinking, which was published in the new awareness-based journal that Presidency Institute was doing around systems thinking. So this is all a systems thinking conference. And relationships to me are one of the major systems that we're working through, building relationships, not just the thinking part, but the relating part. And so I wanted to acknowledge this land that we're on, where I live. It's also currently known as London, Ontario, but it's also the lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Lenape people. And there are nations around us that currently live around the city, the Chippewas of the First Nation, Oneida, the Thames, and Delaware Munsee. And it's important to recognize this because where we're at right now in this work in the local economies is not devoid of the context of our history on this land that we're currently sitting in. And we have on September 30th, the first National Day of Truth and Reconciliation that's happening. And that language is borrowed from South Africa. And so if you've ever read Nelson Mandela's autobiography, he talks about like picking up, in paraphrases, picking up the phone and calling the people in Canada, the indigenous people in Canada, like, hey, what's going on over there? We have a similar issue. And I want to bring that forward because there's a huge unlearning and relearning of the culture and history of this land that we're on. And I want to just start with that because I think without saying these things, we're perpetuating injustice by not acknowledging, the truth of where we're sitting in this work. And so that's the first lens I want to bring forward. So today we're going to talk about different languages around community wealth, inclusive economy, regenerative, well-being economy. There's so many different words. And then I'm going to share with you some examples in our community here in Canada, Ontario, and hopefully have a conversation with some of you. Hi, Wolfgar. Hi, Jessica. Welcome to figure out how we're going to work to create maybe a common language. And so the first group that I want to introduce, and I don't have a PowerPoint necessarily. I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of websites because I feel like those are more dynamic spaces for information. But the first one I'm going to share with you is one of the places that I've really learned a lot about what community wealth being building looks like in our work. And this is the website that I want to share with you. This was can you see that? The community wealth? Is that working in there? Yeah, thank you. It's communitywealth.org, and this is done by a group called the Democracy Collaborative. And they actually helped really create like a common language in the US. And it's had some, Democracy Collaborative, it's had some kind of ripple effects in our community. In Canada, we've used language like social enterprise, social innovation, social finance, impact investing. We talk about green economies, talk about reconciliation economies, a variety of next economies, gender, women-led economies, so many different economies, local economies, bioregional economies. And this group saw kind of this emergent field of community wealth building. They gave language to it, and then they built a website around it, and they built a knowledge resource around it. And I feel a lot of times in the field building of these initiatives, that someone does that work and it helps others come into the kind of the tent, if you will, and start using a common language. And so I want to share this one, communitywealth.org. It's been a place that we've referred to many times in our work, and people in North America, Turtle Island. And so in our work here in Canada, we are trying to address some systemic issues around obviously wealth inequities, but it goes deeper in terms of racism, then exploiting the environment. And where I live in London, Ontario, earlier this year, we made international news when there was an individual that decided to run over a family with a vehicle and killed them. And the one survivor was a young boy, and it was an attack on a family that was South Asian Muslim. And the person who did the attack was a person that was identified as white. And so it was seen as a racist attack on our community. And, when we're building these economies, we have to keep these factors in place in terms of how I talked about relationships. And so I just want to really ground myself in that experience that we had this year that really had a tremendous effect, not only in our local community, but we had all the politicians in the country come to our city. We made international headlines. And so we, in our work right now, use language inclusive economy. And to really create an inclusive economy, it's not a small order. Okay. We have that kind of events happening in your society, in your community. It's definitely not a small order. So I don't want to pretend like it's like this thing that you just do and it's easy or anything. And so the next thing I want to show you, in our community, we are trying to, in Ontario, try to build our own language around community wealth. But before we do that, I want to go to the audience, I guess, and I want to talk to you for a moment. I know they're not in video, but I want to see if anyone can give me their version of what different definitions of community wealth mean to them. And I'm going to put a couple words out there. And when you hear the word, if you want to put your hand up and respond, I'd love to hear your voice and hear what you have to say. So one of the words I want to put out there is when people talk about community economic development. Can anyone tell me what community economic development means? That language. Anyone out here? Just unmute yourself. I want to, again, my hope is to make this a bit interactive, a bit relationship building.